in front of cameras, aides, and royal power. A child was pulled away from her mother, and one guard made a decision that shocked the palace. One step forward. One raised hand. One line that power could not cross. This story reveals what happens when courage stands taller than authority. Watch till the end. Like the video and subscribe to the channel now. Windsor Castle preferred. Mornings like this.com, controlled, photographed from the correct angles. The East Terrace glowed beneath a clear sky, its stone pathway lined with youth-led exhibits celebrating education, creativity, and service. Staff moved with practiced ease. Aides checked schedules twice. Cameras waited at a respectful distance. Everything followed plan. Sergeant Alaric Thorne stood at the edge of the promenade, posture perfect, uniform immaculate. His role stayed simple. Observe, protect. Intervene only when required. Internal security during public appearances demanded discipline over display. Alaric had served long enough to recognize when calm felt staged. Princess Charlotte arrived beside her mother, the Princess of Wales, just after 9:30. The child walked one measured step behind, matching her mother's pace with careful attention. Her coat dress carried a soft plum tone, a small enamel pin shaped like a tree and star fastened near her collar. The symbol represented the youth arts. Foundation she would acknowledge later. Charlotte looked. Composed, polite, quiet. Alaric watched her closely. Children often revealed more through stillness than movement. Charlotte did not fidget. She did not scan the crowd. Her focus stayed fixed on her mother, its hand resting lightly against Catherine's sleeve. That detail mattered. The event unfolded smoothly at first. Greetings exchanged. Displays visited. Smiles offered for cameras. Words spoken about the future. About opportunity. About care. Then Queen Camilla approached. She moved with authority shaped by habit. Her presence shifted the flow of the group without announcement. Aides adjusted positions instinctively. The Princess of Wales turned slightly, polite and prepared. Charlotte did not move. Camilla reached out. Her hand closed around Charlotte's arm, firm enough to guide, not enough to bruise. The motion looked casual to observers. A gentle redirection. A public moment that could pass unnoticed, but Charlotte stiffened. Catherine stepped forward at once. "Charlotte," she said calmly. Reaching for her daughter, Camilla did not release her grip. "I need her for a moment," Camilla said. Charlotte shook her head. "No," she said quietly. The word carried no panic, no disrespect, just refusal. Alaric felt the shift before anyone else did. Children rarely spoke against authority in public. When they did, something important drove them. Catherine extended her hand again. "She stays with me." Camilla tightened her hold. Not aggressive, but insistent. "I said I need her," she replied. Charlotte looked up. "I do not want to go," she said. Her voice stayed steady. "I want to stay with my mother." Silence followed. Not the comfortable silence of ceremony, the brittle kind. The kind that cracked routines open. Alaric stepped forward. He moved between them without haste. Body angled protectively, one gloved hand raised, palm outward. The gesture remained controlled, deliberate, unmistakable. "Your Majesty," Alaric said evenly, "the princess has expressed refusal." Camilla turned toward him, surprised. "Step aside," she said. "This is family. This is safeguarding," Alaric replied. He placed his other hand gently but firmly between Charlotte and Camilla, breaking contact. The motion carried no force, only certainty. Charlotte moved instinctively toward her mother. Catherine placed her arm around her daughter at once. Camilla took a step back. "Are you questioning my authority?" she asked. "I am responding to a child," Alaric said. The words landed cleanly. Aides froze. Cameras lowered. No one spoke. Charlotte pressed closer to her mother. Catherine rested her hand on Charlotte's shoulder, grounding her. "I said I did not want to go," Charlotte repeated. That ended it. Alaric held his position, posture respectful but immovable. He did not raise his voice. He did not escalate. He simply refused to retreat. "This interaction ends now," he said calmly. Camilla looked around. The eyes watching her held concern, not support. She turned away. The event resumed in fragments. Displays revisited. Conversations restarted. But something had changed. Alaric returned to his post, heart steady, senses sharp. He had crossed a line that existed for moments exactly like this. Later, Charlotte glanced back at him once. Just once. Her eyes held relief. Alaric nodded slightly. He would stand again if needed. Because when a child spoke clearly, power reached too far, his duty stayed simple. He listened. The promenade did not collapse into chaos. That surprised many people later. There were no raised voices. No hurried announcements, no dramatic exits. Windsor Castle absorbed disruption the way stone absorbed rain. Slowly, silently, deliberately, the public event continued. But it moved forward with a new stiffness, as if everyone sensed an invisible line had been crossed. Sergeant Alaric. Thorne returned to his assigned position near the terrace archway. His posture stayed formal, his expression unreadable. Only the controlled rise and fall of his breathing revealed that the moment had not passed cleanly through him. "Princess." Charlotte remained beside her mother. Catherine knelt slightly to speak to her. One hand steady on her daughter's back. "You did well," she said quietly. Charlotte nodded. Her hands trembled once, then settled. "I did not want to go," she said again, as if confirming her own voice. "You never have to," Catherine replied. Alaric observed from a respectful distance. He had trained himself not to stare, but awareness required attention. Charlotte stayed close to her mother for the remainder of the event. No one attempted to separate them again. Queen Camilla withdrew from the promenade early. Her departure looked orderly, planned. Yet the aides around her moved with caution now. Watching, recalculating behind the scenes. The atmosphere changed at once. Alaric received the signal less than 10 minutes later. A discreet vibration through his earpiece. "Report to internal command." He acknowledged without visible reaction and waited till the public portion of his duty rotated out. Then he moved through the private corridors, boots quiet against stone floors that had carried heavier steps than his. The command room held 3 people when he entered. A senior security officer, a protocol advisor, a safeguarding liaison. They did not waste time. "You intervened physically," the protocol advisor said. "I intervened protectively," Alaric replied. "Against a senior royal figure," the officer added. "On behalf of a minor who expressed refusal," Alaric said. The safeguarding liaison leaned forward. "Did the child speak clearly?" "Yes," Alaric replied. "She stated she did not want to go." "And you assessed no immediate danger?" "I assessed emotional distress and lack of consent," Alaric said. "That is sufficient." Silence followed. The protocol advisor tapped a pen against the table. "This creates complications." "Safety often does," Alaric replied calmly. The officer studied him. "Do you understand the visibility of your action?" "Yes." "And the consequences?" "Yes." "Would you do it again?" Alaric answered without hesitation. "Immediately." The safeguarding liaison nodded once. "Then your action aligns with duty," she said. The officer exhaled slowly. "Remain on active duty. Do not discuss the incident." "Yes, sir." Alaric left the room and returned to the corridors. Elsewhere in the castle, Charlotte sat with a counselor she already knew. The room felt familiar, not clinical. Soft chairs. Warm light. A sense of calm designed to invite honesty. "You did nothing wrong," the counselor said gently. Charlotte nodded. "She pulled me," Charlotte said. "I wanted my mother." "That is enough," the counselor replied. Charlotte looked thoughtful. The guard listened. "Yes," the counselor said. "That matters." Charlotte smiled faintly. Later that afternoon, Alaric crossed paths with a fellow guard, younger, less seasoned. "They are talking," the guard said quietly. "They always do." Alaric replied. "You could have waited," the guard added. Alaric stopped walking and turned. Waiting favors power, he said. Listening favors children. The younger guard nodded, absorbing the lesson. As evening approached, the castle settled. Doors closed. Schedules adjusted. The day shifted from public performance to private reflection. Charlotte walked through the corridor with her mother. She glanced ahead and spotted Alaric standing at his post. She slowed. Catherine noticed. "Do you want to say something?" Charlotte nodded and stepped forward. "Thank you," she said to Alaric. "You are welcome."
"Princess,"
he replied. "You did not shout," Charlotte said. "No," Alaric replied. "You were already heard." She smiled and returned to her mother's side. That night, Alaric remained on watch longer than required. No one told him to leave. No one told him to stay. He chose to stand, because the moment had not ended on the terrace. It had only begun. The castle remembered everything, that truth lived in its walls. In the quiet way, footsteps echoed longer in certain corridors, in the way doors closed with care after difficult days. Windsor did not forget moments that tested it. It absorbed them, then responded by the next morning. The response had begun. Sergeant Alaric Thorne stood outside the private wing as dawnlight reached across the courtyard. His posture remained exact, his focus sharpened. He felt eyes on him more often now. Not hostile, curious, measuring. Tradition disliked disruption. Two senior aides approached together. Their expressions polite, but guarded. Sergeant 1 said, "You are requested again." Alaric followed without comment. The room differed from the previous briefing. Fewer uniforms, more advisors. People who shaped narrative as carefully as policy. "We need clarity," one advisor said. "Your action created a visible moment." "My action created safety," Alaric replied. "You placed yourself between senior authority and a child," another said. "I placed myself between a child and pressure," Alaric said. A pause followed. "Do you understand how this appears?" the first advisor asked. "Yes," Alaric replied, "but appearance does not outweigh consent." That word shifted the room. "Consent," the advisor repeated. "Yes," Alaric said. A child expressed refusal. That refusal deserved respect. A safeguarding official present nodded slightly. "Did anyone instruct you to intervene?" an advisor asked. "No," Alaric replied. "Then why act?" "'Cause duty does not require permission when protection is needed," Alaric said. Silence settled again. At last the senior official spoke. "Your action aligns with safeguarding standards. However, there will be pressure to frame this as misunderstanding." "I will not misrepresent the child," Alaric said, even if asked. "Yes." Alaric said. The meeting ended without resolution, which in Windsor meant something important remained unresolved on purpose. Outside the room, the castle hummed with quiet activity. Staff exchanged looks. Conversations paused when Alaric passed. Nothing hostile, nothing warm, just awareness. Meanwhile, Charlotte felt a shift in her own way. She sat with her mother in a small sitting room overlooking the gardens. Catherine poured tea and waited before speaking. "People may talk," she said gently. Charlotte traced the rim of her cup. "I spoke." "Yes," Catherine said. "And speaking was right." Charlotte looked up. "Will it be difficult?" Catherine considered her words. "Sometimes truth makes things uncomfortable before it makes them better." Charlotte nodded. The guard understood. He did. Catherine agreed. That afternoon, Charlotte returned to her studies. Her tutor noticed her focus improve. Her questions returned. She raised her hand again, something she had avoided in recent weeks. The smallest changes often meant the most. Alaric received quiet support from unexpected places. A housekeeper paused to nod at him. A footman adjusted his path to pass closer. Younger guards asked careful questions about safeguarding protocol. Tradition resisted. People adapted, pressure arrived in subtle forms. A senior figure passed Alaric without acknowledgement. Schedule adjustment placed him under observation longer than usual. A request came asking him to submit a written account, then another asking for revision. Alaric complied without altering facts. Words mattered. Later that evening, he encountered Queen Camilla again, briefly at the far end of a corridor. No aides nearby, no audience. She stopped. "You embarrass me," she said. "I protected a child," Alaric replied evenly. "She belongs to this family. She belongs to herself first," Alaric said. Camilla studied him. "You believe that?" "Yes," he replied. She said nothing more and moved on. Alaric remained still until she disappeared from view. That night, safeguarding protocols circulated quietly among staff. New guidance, clear language, clear authority. Children gained explicit right to refuse movement without explanation. The castle adjusted. Charlotte noticed first. When an aide reached for her hand the next day, the aide paused. "May I?" the woman asked. Charlotte smiled. "Yes." Choice returned. Alaric stood watch as evening settled. He watched Charlotte and her mother walk the corridor together, unhurried, unafraid, watched tradition bend, not break. He understood then that his action had not challenged the castle. It had reminded it of its purpose. The watch continued, but it watched differently now. By the fourth day, Windsor Castle carried a different kind of weight. Nothing visible changed. Schedules continued. Ceremonies remained intact, yet every step inside the palace now felt measured against something new. Awareness had settled in. It moved quietly, like a presence that refused to leave. Sergeant Alaric Thorne felt it most. His assignments shifted without explanation. His patrol routes adjusted. His presence requested near sensitive areas, then removed, then reinstated. No one challenged him directly. Pressure did not arrive as confrontation. It arrived as suggestion. A senior protocol officer stopped him near the grand stair. "You have become noticeable," the officer said. "My duty often is," Alaric replied. "There are moments when restraint serves the institution," the officer added. "There are moments when restraint harms the vulnerable," Alaric said. The officer sighed. "You are difficult." "I am consistent," Alaric replied. That consistency unsettled people more than rebellion ever could. Outside the castle walls, interest began to grow. Not headlines, not accusations, just curiosity. Quiet inquiries. Polite questions that carried sharp edges. Why did security intervene? Why did the event end early? Why were safeguarding updates issued so quickly? Official answers stayed careful. Inside, Charlotte felt the effects differently. She noticed doors opening more slowly, hands reaching toward her paused now. Adults asked instead of directing. That change felt strange at first, then comforting. During an afternoon walk through the gardens, Charlotte stopped suddenly. "I want to sit here," she said. An aide hesitated, then nodded. "Of course." Smiled, and sat on the stone bench beside her mother. "I like when people ask." Sa. Catherine placed an arm around her shoulders. "You deserve that." Nearby, Alaric observed from a distance. He did not intrude. He ensured space. Later that day, he received another summons. This meeting carried fewer formalities. One senior figure, no table, no files. "You have disrupted balance," the man said. "Balance that ignores consent requires disruption," Alaric replied. "You forced a public moment." "Child forced truth," Alaric said. The man watched him closely. "You understand the implications of continuing this stance? You may face isolation." "I already stand alone," Alaric replied. The man studied him longer, then nodded once. "Sometimes isolation marks leadership." The meeting ended. That evening, a younger guard approached Alaric quietly near the barracks. "Sir," he said, "some of us noticed." Alaric looked at him. "Noticed what?" "That you did not back down." Alaric considered the young man's expression. Respect lived there. "Relief too, backing down in safety," Alaric said. "Standing firm extends it." The young guard nodded, "Thank you." Word spread, not as gossip, but as example. That night, Charlotte struggled to sleep. Thoughts returned. Questions circled. Catherine sat beside her bed. "Is everything all right?" she asked. I keep thinking about that day, Charlotte said. Catherine listened. I was scared, Charlotte continued. But then I was not. What changed? Catherine asked. Someone listened, Charlotte said. Catherine kissed her forehead. Always remember that. Charlotte slept soon after. Outside her door, Alaric stood watch. Unaware of the conversation, but aware of his purpose. Pressure arrived again the next morning in a new form. A request came asking Alaric to transfer temporarily to a less visible assignment. He read it carefully, returned it unchanged, declined. Duty remains. No explanation followed. No reprimand arrived. The castle adapted again. Safeguarding officers conducted additional training sessions. Consent language became routine. Guards received clearer authority to intervene when children spoke refusal. Change embedded itself quietly. Charlotte noticed it when a staff member asked, "Do you want to continue, or would you like to stop?" She chose to stop. No one questioned her. That mattered more than ceremony ever could. As dusk settled over Windsor, Alaric took his post near the same terrace where the incident had occurred. The stone looked unchanged. The memory felt permanent. He understood now that his action had become something larger than a moment. It had become precedent, and precedent protected, more than power ever could. The watch continued, stronger, clearer. Awake by the 5th day, Windsor Castle understood that the moment would not fade quietly. No statements appeared. No official explanations followed. Still, questions gathered beyond the gates like fog that refused to lift. Polite inquiries reached offices that preferred certainty. Advisors met more often. Safeguarding language appeared in places it had never existed before. Change, once started, neighed direction. Sergeant Alaric Thorne felt the pull of comfort pressing against truth. It arrived as courtesy, a senior aide. Approached him late in the afternoon, voice low, posture friendly. "You have made your point," the aide said. "The situation is under control. Children remain safest when protection remains active," Alaric replied. The aide smiled tightly. "There is value in allowing things to settle. There is danger in asking silence to do that work," Alaric said. The aide hesitated. "No one wants this to grow." "Growth is not always noise," Alaric replied. "Sometimes it is standards." That evening, Alaric received a written request. Voluntary leave. Short duration. Administrative rest. The words read gentle, reasonable, protective of him. On the surface, he read it twice, then he returned it, unsigned, declined. Duty continues. No explanation followed. None was needed. Inside the private wing, Charlotte continued her days with renewed steadiness. She attended lessons. She practiced piano. She laughed with her brother again. The tension that had once tightened her shoulders loosened, placed by quiet confidence. During an art session, she painted a line across the page. "What is that?" the tutor asked. "A boundary," Charlotte replied. The tutor smiled. That word spread more powerfully than any headline. Meanwhile, pressure shifted form. A meeting convened without Alaric present. Discussions about optics, about unity, about preventing misunderstanding. Words carefully chosen to soften edges, yet every proposal returned to the same obstacle. The child had spoken clearly. The guard had acted appropriately. The record supported both. Comfort could not erase that. Charlotte noticed attention from afar. Not cameras. Not crowds. But watching eyes. Adults weighing her reactions. She did not shrink. One afternoon, she stopped walking mid-corridor. "I want to go back," she said. An aide paused. Of course, Charlotte turned and retraced her steps, choosing direction for herself. No explanation required. Alaric watched from his post, heart steady, later that day. A junior official attempted a quiet conversation. "Things would be easier if you said less," the official suggested. "I said enough." Alaric replied, "People may misinterpret." "People misinterpret silence more often," Alaric said. That ended the conversation as evening settled. Catherine approached Alaric quietly while Charlotte played nearby. "I want you to know," she said, voice controlled. "Your decision mattered. I did my duty, Alaric replied. Sometimes duty carries cost, Catherine said. I accepted that cost when I took the oath, Alaric replied. She nodded. Understanding complete. That night, Charlotte asked a question that stayed with Alaric long after. Will guards always listen now? She asked him as she passed. They should, he replied. And if they forget, remind them. She smiled. The castle prepared new guidance the following day. Safeguarding authority clarified. Intervention rights strengthened. Consent language formalized. Children given explicit protection against coercion in public and private settings. The documents carried no names, no references. Only principle. Alaric reviewed them with care. They reflected the moment accurately. Outside the castle, curiosity softened into respect. Without spectacle, the story lacked fuel for distortion. Truth remained protected by calm consistency. Inside, comfort learned to share space with accountability. That evening, Alaric stood alone again near the terrace. The same stones. The same path. Yet nothing felt the same. He understood now that silence often asked for permission to continue harm, and he understood something else. Refusing comfort protected more than ease ever could. The watch continued. Not. Quieter, clearer, Windsor Castle settled into a new kind of quiet. Not the silence that hid discomfort. Not the stillness that avoided truth. This quiet carried clarity. Weeks passed. The castle adapted in ways that no announcement could fully explain. New routines settled naturally. Safeguarding officers held briefings that focused on listening rather than authority. Guards received revised guidance that placed consent at the center of every interaction involving children. No one spoke of the terrace incident directly. Anymore they did not need to. Sergeant Alaric Thorne continued his duty as he always had. Same posture. Same precision. Yet those around him watched differently now. Younger guards mirrored his calm. Senior officers consulted him quietly. His presence carried weight earned through action, not rank. One morning, Alaric was asked to stand watch during a small private gathering in the gardens. No cameras. No public schedule. Just family. Princess Charlotte walked beside her mother, relaxed, confident. She stopped near a rose arch and looked around. I want to stay here, she said. Catherine nodded. Then we stay. No one questioned it. No one redirected her. Choice had become normal. Charlotte glanced toward Alaric. Their eyes met. She smiled, not grateful, not nervous, just certain. That look told him everything. Later that day, a senior officer approached Alaric with a sealed folder. These protocols are finalized, the officer said. They will remain in place permanently. Alaric accepted the folder, but did not open it. That is good, he said. You changed the watch, the officer added. No, Alaric replied. The watch remembered its purpose. The officer paused, then nodded. Elsewhere, Queen Camilla moved through the castle with visible restraint. Interactions stayed formal. Distance respected. Power adjusted itself quietly when boundaries refused to bend. No. Confrontation followed, only correction. Charlotte noticed the difference most during ordinary moments. When an adult reached out, they asked first. When she hesitated, they waited. When she spoke, they listened. One afternoon, she sat with Prince Louis, drawing again. What are you making? Louis asked. A line, Charlotte replied. What kind? The kind people do not cross anymore. Louis nodded, satisfied. That evening, Alaric received a final message from command. Safeguarding review complete. Conduct upheld. Service commended internally. He read it once, then locked his device and returned to his post. Commendation had never been his reason. As dusk fell, castle lights came on warm against ancient stone. Windsor stood as it always had, strong and proud. Yet something invisible now reinforced its foundation. Respect. Alaric stood where the terrace met the corridor. The same place where the line had been drawn weeks earlier. He remembered the moment clearly. The raised hand. The refusal spoken by a child. The choice to act, he would make that choice again, because a guard did not exist to preserve comfort. A guard existed to preserve safety, and when safety stood firm, everything else followed. The watch continued, not because tradition demanded it, but because truth had redefined it.